Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down. Now, before we get going on our nighttime Wednesday weekly convo, you can see I'm in my car. You know what we're getting ready to do. I want to just quickly let you know about No Shave November. If you were unaware, the Seaman is participating, and he's looking to try to raise some money for the Prostate Cancer Foundation, and there's something that you can do to help me to get to what I would hope that I'll be able to donate later. If you want to know all the juicy details about what I'm doing for No Shave November and why it is I'm doing it and how you can help without even giving me $1, boom, man, check it out right there. That video will give you everything you need to know about me and my No Shave November quest. But now, man, it's Wednesday night and it's time to dive into some horror story. That's right, baby. It's our favorite time of the week. I love Wednesday nights, and before I get going, I just want to apologize right away if my reactions were kind of weak. You'll see I was in a different position this week. I was laying down. And if this review is kind of quick or I'm running through things fast, it's because I'm not feeling great. I did the Packy One Chip Challenge with like 9 coworkers today, and while I survived the heat in the mouth bit, this chip has been stabbing my stomach to pieces, man. A lot of uncomfortable pain. And right now everything's cool, and I think I've leveled out, but I am wiped. So that's my pre-review apology if this review is not very good. I'm not on my A game, but like I said, man, it's horror story night, so it's time to rally up for you guys and for horror story and get ready to dive into this one. So you know what we're doing, man. Pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in, spoiler free and spoiler filled, into American Horror Story 1984, Episode 8, Rest in Pieces. Now, before I really even dive all the way in, I'm going to start with what ended. And this isn't a spoiler per se, but I had no clue that this season was only going to be 9 episodes. And next week is our finale, making this the penultimate episode. And once I understood that, I kind of liked the episode even more, because it's another one of these setup episodes, and we've had a lot of them this year. And what's been interesting is, while we keep waiting for like that big moment, that big thing to happen, we've had it kind of once. All the episodes have been solid, though. I think the content and the story and where they're taking things and the twists and turns, there's a little something in every episode, even all these setups. And when you look at the season the way that I've been looking at it, this feels like watching a horror movie and then that horror movie's sequel. And if you know that, the season's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It's going to give you a couple peak moments, or jumps or surprises at the beginning, but save the big stuff for the end. And that's what we've seen this season, where we hit episode 5. That was our first big finale. Now we're gearing up for episode 9 to be the second big finale. And the fact that it's only a 9-episode season, I think, makes it easier to digest and be okay with the way they've been setting things up, because I think the story that Mr. Ryan Murphy and Mr. Brad Falchuk have been weaving this year, I just think it's so strong, and we see that on display here again. Now, while there's no like big time surprises or jump scares or like, whoa, that just happened, a lot of important things take place tonight, and we're setting up all our characters to finally all be back at the camp and be ready to go towards whatever our final showdowns are. And we got some good stuff tonight, man. We got another really solid episode from Mr. Jingles, and you know, Mr. Ramirez, the Nightstalker. We get to see them go head to head a couple times throughout the course of the episode, and everything's kind of gearing that way. And we also get some big moments for Mr. Jingles' character, specifically toward the end. And what was dope is what leads into maybe the biggest moment of the season for him thus far, happens to recreate a scene from a very, very, very classic 1980s slasher flick. Like one of the like prototypical 80s slashers movies. Maybe the thing that has the most inspiration into the season. And when it happened, I was just like, well, check it out. It's only a smidge, man. I'm just gonna tease you just a little bit, because obviously we're gonna talk about it in the spoiler area, and that's where you'll get to see the full reaction. But there were a couple moments where I was like, oh no, like shoot, or oh, I cursed a little bit, and it's been a rough day. But there were a couple jumps, and like I said, the stuff we set up for Mr. Jingles, I really liked. Where we are with the Nightstalker story, I'm really digging where those pieces are being positioned. Same with Margaret. We get to find out some very important stuff about Margaret, and I tell you, man, every time you want to sleep on this chick, she is ahead of the game, man. I don't know how she does some of the things she does, but she just seems to... It's like she's watched this chess game a million times, studied every single move, and just always knows where to be at what time. It's kind of crazy like she is. But she continues to just, every time we think we're going to get her cornered, it seems like she still has the upper hand. And I like that. It makes her a very worthy villain to be the centerpiece, I think, for the finale of the episode. And the other big thing we had to set up for that specific finale has to do with Donna and Brooke, and they get a real nice chunk of episode where we kind of really understand where both of them are psyche-wise, and what their goals and what their motivations are. And they enter, into their story tonight, they kind of injected something that I thought was really interesting and gave them the opportunity to pull off one of my favorite moments of the season. They're at a diner at the beginning of the episode, and the conversation they had, I just sat there, I was like, oh, wow. Like, oh, man, like, that's so clever. And it plays into the way that we've transitioned the season, where we were in 84 at the beginning. Now we're almost in 1990. And by pivoting the season and bringing it to where we are now, sets up a really interesting conversation where I was like, Ryan Murphy, Brad Falchuk, you guys are crushing it. So I really enjoyed that stuff. And we also get to hang out with the ghosts a little bit. We get some more kind of storylines for them, and obviously we have to set them up for the finale. And of all the ghosts, we mostly get to see a bunch of stuff with Xavier, which is more exposition and just kind of setup. But the stuff we got with Montana, also really important. We really get a good idea of Montana's psyche. She has 2 legit deep conversations with our boy Trevor. And I like what they're doing with their relationship and what that conversation is setting up going forward. So, look, man, I understand that we haven't had a ton of huge episodes, but all these rock-solid setup episodes are just building the story to the place I think it needs to get to. I think it did that in episode 5 when we finally had our showdown with our serial killers, and we wrapped up that initial story at Camp Redwood. And I think we're getting the same thing here for what could be the final episode. Well, obviously the final episode, but the final part of the story for Camp Redwood. This could be it. And like I said, it kind of feels like this second half of the season, these back 4 episodes, have really complemented those first 5 like a sequel to a movie. Granted, we've only watched 3 of the last 4, but nevertheless, like, these 3 episodes that we've just watched feel like the perfect sequel to the first 5. And that is, I think, the brilliant thing that's going to make this season a win. That pivot was genius, and it kept it in a place where they could tweak the story and move it to a different place, but never lose the essence of the season, which is some of the problems it's had recently. So there you go, man. Those are all my spoiler-free thoughts on American Horror Story 1984, Episode 8, Rest in Pieces. Now we're going to talk about those pieces in our spoiler review. So if you haven't watched the episode yet and you don't want it to be spoiled, you got enough out of the spoiler-free stuff, now is your time to exit stage left, baby. Get on out of here. Go run. Watch episode 8. Get ready, man. The finale is next week. And to see, man, we cooking up something for the finale for sure. Anyway, I digress. If everyone that has not seen the episode is left, it just leaves me and you guys who have seen the episode. And like I said, even though it's another setup, I think there were some really, really big things that went down tonight. And it all starts with that cold open the day before Halloween, where Brooke and Donna are at this diner and they're just kind of chit-chatting. And I I loved this conversation so much because, like, as they're kind of chit-chatting, they're kind of going back and forth on, like, the fact that this whole thing is all about revenge, man. If they can go and they can get Margaret, they might even be able to redeem themselves in a way where they could move forward with their lives and not feel trapped. And that's the thing that Brooke's dealing with the most here. She references multiple times throughout the episode how the last 5 years have changed her as a person, man. All she's got is anger and hate. And Donna's like, well, that's good, man, because you're going to need that fuel to go get Margaret. But Margaret's a tough SOB, man. Like, you should probably eat a little bit. And then, dude, like, directly referencing 1980s slasher movies inside of a season that is adapting itself to a 1980s horror movie. Genius, man. Like, the minute she Brooke goes last, like, final girl, like, what does that mean? And Donna's like, oh yeah, like, you missed the 80s because she was in prison that whole time. That's why that time jump is so genius, because it gave Brooke the opportunity to live the beginning of the 80s, a lot of fun, and then missed out on the part of the 80s where, like, serial killers were running amok all over the place, slasher flicks were blowing up, and then Donna pulls, like, a Scream move and references the fact that, like, in these slasher flicks, there's always a final girl, and you want to be the final girl at the end of the movie, which is kind of what this season has been, and then goes into, like, things about horror movies that we know. Like, Brooke's like, well, why can't you be the final girl if I don't want to be it? And she's like, honey, people my color go first in all these movies. And you're just like, dude, and it makes sense because they live in the 80s, so to have a conversation about pop culture, a very Kevin Smith sort of thing to do, a la Clerks, I love when you get to see that inside of anything that's pop culture related. I love getting to talk about pop culture, but in this instance, to be in a 1980s slasher flick styled, season, have them directly reference and do stuff that we've seen in the 90s as we get close to the 90s, I just thought that was genius. And the scene doesn't even end there, man. Like, you get this wonderful, like, open, and you're like, oh, this is great. And then all of a sudden, this redhead chick comes over and starts talking, and they insert the National Enquirer, right? They're up there there's a festival, and, the girl comes over. I don't remember her name, but she's like, oh my gosh, like, you look so much like Brooke, so and such, and thinks she's cosplaying. She's like, yeah, I'm with the press. I work for the National Enquirer. I'm like, genius, man. Like, of course, the National Enquirer will be all over this, and she references that throughout the episode too. Like, back in the early 70s and early 80s, man, it was like, oh, Bigfoot and aliens and UFOs and all this supernatural stuff. That's what the Enquirer was filled with. And then the 80s just became about, like I said, serial killers and these slasher flicks and crack cocaine, spurted out of there to the point where, like, you get to the end of the cold open and, the National Enquirer girl's talking about how she wants to write a book about Mr. Jingles. That's what, and Brooke, that's what she's up there for. But, like, she just is kind of talking about how Camp Redwood is the epitome of everything that's wrong with the 1980s. And by the time we get to the end of it, like, the 80s might be the end of the world as we know it. So, like, all this, like, relevant pop culture 80s type conversations that happened at that time and then going forward, putting them into the show, I just thought was genius. And it was like, if you pull on my nostalgia heartstrings in any manner, man, you're winning. And that's the thing this season has been doing the best, man. The nostalgia vibes are huge. But obviously, that's just the cold open, man. And I thought I was gonna talk quick, right? That's funny. Anyway, man, we come back from the cold open break, and we see the hippie guy, and I guess he's just in a proverbial loop. It's like every time we see him, he's on the road. And I guess, like, when you die, you go back to the place where you died. But I don't know, it's just one of these weird things where, like, he just seems to just keep looping, and who does he run into but Dylan McDermott while he's coming up? The sprint car pulls up, and McDermott's in it, and you're like, wait, when did he have time to fix his hands? How did he get untied, and where did this car come from? And it's one of those things where you're watching and you're not even thinking, and it's so obvious, like, the answer, and of course they lead us to that. But the thing I love the most is, like, the minute he shows up, man, like, Dylan McDermott's character is so grimy, man. Like, he plays sleazeball this season so well. I mean, we've only had him in 2 episodes, and like, you're just like, he's the skeeviest guy so far. And when you hear all the things that he's about, man, like the way he's talking about the girls, why he's going to Camp Redwood, and then like before like you can really get into stuff with the hippie and what he's really about, you start hearing a noise in the back, and they're talking about music at that time. McDermot's character, huge on music, and as they're trying to listen to whatever song is on the radio, McDermott slams over. We jump back, and we find out what happened. He was tied up there, right, hanging. Some nice lady stops. It's like, we're going to get you to a hospital. And as soon as like she unties him, he chokes her out, throws her in the trunk, and then takes off in her car. So now you see him open the trunk. I love this, man. He gets so mad because she's interrupting the music. First he kind of talks to her and gives her an opportunity. She says like one thing he done, boom, stabs her right in the chest, dunzo. And you're like, shoot, like that's... like McDermott is committed to being a serial killer. And what happens a little bit later for him, I love how they're setting him up to help become one of those serial killers from the 80s. I like the vibe that they're playing with him. We'll get over there. But of course, we got to jump back. I completely blanked. I was like, oh, shoot, that's right. They killed Kaja Gugu. And we last left Margaret and Courtney looking at it, and this scene is also great because like she lays out everything. Like, she just knows everything to do, and it's basically like, Courtney, you gotta clean all this up, like all the blood, all the bodies, get rid of it all. You think this is gonna stop this festival from happening? You're crazy. People are coming. We're gonna make sure it happens. Clean all this up, get rid of the bodies, no blood, fix everything. Yeah, man, I love this guy so much. It's like, I can't do that. One, he's already like super freaked out. Like, he's ranting and raving the whole scene. And then he's like, I can't do it. Like, I'm a little tiny guy. And she's like, good. Chop him up into little tiny pieces. Oh, rest in pieces. There you go, man. This is another title that fits. And what's nice is we don't have to watch Courtney do it. They kind of jump it, and he's coming out throwing like one of the last bags into the Jeep that he's got to go get rid of the body parts. And all of a sudden he starts hearing music, and at first you're like, oh man, I wonder if it's gonna be Billy, because they keep, Billy's the headliner. We haven't seen him anywhere, and every time I see someone walking around the festival, I'm like, oh, are they looking for Billy? And then Courtney's face is just like semi-disturbed, shocked. And as he turns the corner, you're like, oh yeah, duh, they're dead. Obviously, they're playing music right there. That's the last time we see Courtney or Kaja Gugu the whole episode. But clearly, Kaja Gugu is going to be able to play at the festival because they're, alive. So I'll be really, really interested to see what happens with Courtney when we get back to him next episode, and see if they show what the fallout of that whole bit was, and how he figures out, like, oh, they're dead, but there's ghosts. And I look forward to that because I love when Courtney pops up all the time. And then, we kind of swing from Courtney, and we see the Nightstalker has also arrived, and he's looking for what you assume is Billy Idol, and he runs into a roadie, and the roadie's like, oh, you want to check this out, man? He opens up, and it's all like his cuffs and his earrings and his jewelry, all his silver. And he goes to reach it. He's like, oh man, you don't touch the silver. But I do have one of Steve's guitar picks. And this moment, it was so enjoyable. And then you were like, oh, and because of that, the Seaman reacted like this. He's air guitar. Get it, Ramirez. Oh, Jingles. Man, I tell you, like, I loved getting to watch Nightstalker like do air guitar and just like get all into the Billy Idol stuff. Like, it's his love for Billy is so pure that like you just see pure joy when he's starting to do it, and then boom, Mr. Jingles tackles him, and you're like, here we go. Showdown number 2 is already hitting, man. We're only in like our past the cold open first full segment. Yes, we're getting ready to go, and they start wrestling and fighting, and, Nightstalker, like, kind of gouges his eyes, and then for a moment, you think Jingles is going to get the upper hand. Boom, man, he gets smacked. Like, what? Check it. Oh, shit. Oh, McDermott just laid him out. I wasn't ready for it, man. Like, up on the hood, thrown off, and then just gone. And what's great is Nightstalker gets so pissed. And of course, it's the pink car, so it's Dylan McDermott's character. And he is just like, he's gone. This is all your fault. And he's kind of laying into him. McDermott's like, whoa, easy, dude. Like, I don't know what's going on here. And he's like, wait, I recognize you. You're Ramirez. You're the Nightstalker. No way. And then basically tells him that he's a humongous fan, that he wants to be like him. He's already killed 6 people. And that number will be 8 by the time he gets to Camp Redwood and he finds them 2 girls that took his thumbs. He makes a joke about the not being able to hitchhike and stuff. That might have been earlier. That might have been the hippie. But like every time he's popping up, man, I love it. And I love that we're pairing McDermott up with the Nightstalker. That should be a lot of fun because I just love Dylan McDermott. And that means that he's definitely going to have a big role to play in the finale. It was one of those things we weren't sure of. When he got tied up and just left for dead, it's like, oh, nice little cameo for Dylan. No, man, we're getting him all the way to the end, which I really, really dig. And as he's kind of talking, you see Ramirez's like mood change. He's like, I got a protege, and he kind of takes him under his wing. And then we go back into, like one of these motel rooms, and Brooke and Donna are kind of chit-chatting about like what they're going to be doing next. And all of a sudden the door knocks, and you hear a voice. I'm like, no way. No way does Margaret know that they're there, that Brooke's alive. There's no way, but it sounded like Margaret. And then the door opens, and it's the National Enquirer girl. I was like, oh, okay, that makes way more sense. And basically she tells them to their face, like, I know exactly who you guys are. I figured it all out, man. She knew from the very get-go. Brooke says in that cold open, she's like, she recognized me. Donna's like, she can't recognize you. You're dead. Oh, she recognized her. And she put the pieces together. She wants to write a book about Jingles and Brooks. She's been doing all this research and came across Donna when Jingles escaped because she visited that day. And then kind of put the pieces together by getting a video from like the prison where they killed Brooke, and finds out that Donna was the executioner and that the whole thing was staged. She figured the whole thing out. And you're just like, oh, snap, man. Like, that could be disastrous. So when we come back from break, Brooke is already gearing. She's like, look, I got something for you. What if I give you the biggest exclusive of your life, man? Like, we'll tell you everything you want to know for your book. We'll take you to Camp Redwood, show you all the places where the murders and the things happen, because we were there. Tell you the whole story. It'll be all yours. Give you all the juicy details. And then let us go. And don't, like, mention us to anybody till the book comes out. And the woman's like, all right, that could be okay, but, like, why? She's like, Jingles didn't make all those killings back then. It was Margaret. She's like, Margaret, if you can prove that, I'll buy you 2 tickets to Paris, like, right now. So, we're teaming up now with the National Enquirer girl. We're gonna set up this exclusive, biggest story of her career. And the thing I love, too, is, like, she like, is sort of buying into some of the things, like, when they go over to the camp, and they're telling, like, Brooke's telling her about when she was caught up in the tree, and then Donna kind of got her down and, like, injected her, and she watched Jingles kill Nightstalker, and Nightstalker come back, and she's like, you don't believe me. He's like, I love this line. She's like, the truth is usually a lot weirder than you would expect anything to be. Like, when you have a weird story, chances are it's the truth. She's like, I don't let anything get in the way of the truth. I don't let the truth get in the way of a good story that'll sell. I was like, oh man, like, they have this girl sounding like the perfect National Enquirer reporter. I loved what they did with her character. And then we jump to Mr. Jingles, and he wakes up where he buried his body after he slashed himself last week. And he's like, and the hippie is there, and he kind of coaches like, hey, I get it, man. This guy just pops up exactly when you need him. He's like a non-playable character. It's just boom, he's there. But he like kind of breaks it down. He's like, look, this is what happens. He's like, I felt everything, because when he killed himself, obviously he knew what he was doing because he was alive. But since coming back, he hasn't died yet, and he didn't realize that if you were dead, you'd still feel everything. Like, it would still be as miserable as it is. So I loved having that in there. And all these little things just feed into what Jingles is doing in any of the episodes. But then we find out that, obviously Trevor and Montana are still banging, and Montana has told Trevor everything. She's told him that she's a ghost, or and that she, like, they have this really, really deep conversation in bed where she's like, it's miserable, man. Like, because he's asking her, like, is the sex good for you? Like, can you feel anything? And she's like, I can't orgasm, but, we can sort of feel some stuff, because, like, but it's just, I just want to get out of here, man. Like, anywhere. He's like, what? She's like, I want to be dead. Like, it's better than this, whatever this is. Like, let me either be alive or kill me. Just this trapped nonsense is terrible. And you can tell that, like, she's kind of having, like, she kind of talks into, like, this is why I'm killing everybody, right? Like, if I'm going to have to be stuck here, I want to be able to bang, and I want to be able to, have groovy conversations, and the more the merrier. So everybody I kill, they get to come, and now all of a sudden there's someone I can talk to or have sex with. And Trevor's like, no, man, like, no, I'm going to kill myself because I want to live here forever. He goes, you are the 80s, Montana. He's like, I hate this 90s crap, man. The end of the 80s has been horrible. I'm talking about, like, the fashion and all the things that play to Trevor's character. And he's just like, I want to be with you forever. And Montana's like, don't do that. Like, and you just kind of get in this, like, you'd think Montana would be all over it, but clearly it's starting to weigh on her. Like, she was having fun at the beginning. Now she's got Trevor. She's got her little bang buddy. And you can see it's weighing on her. And Billie Lourd crushes in this episode. Her acting is so good all the time. But she was one of the standouts for me in this episode because of this conversation she has, and then she has another conversation with Trevor in a little bit after that. And you just sit there and you go, I love you, Billie Lourd. Really, really enjoyed that. As they come out of the cabin, we are seeing from a vantage point that when the camera swings, Margaret sees the two of them. Now, Margaret knows Montana is dead. So the minute Margaret sees Montana, she's got to know about the ghost. Like, this is what I was saying in the non-spoiler. Like, somehow, Margaret just seems to have the upper hand at all times. I don't know how she figures all this stuff out. But her seeing Montana, she must know about the ghosts. And then, speaking of the ghosts, one of our, maybe my favorite ghost, man. I just love me some Cody Fern. Xavier pops up and kind of surprises Nightstalker and McDermot, and he's kind of talking to them like, hey, I want you guys to help us, like, come find Jingles, man. Like, we gotta catch this guy. If he's running amok, I can take you to him. And he takes him to the buried body. And he's like, this is where he died. And now it's at this point that the Nightstalker realizes that Mr. Jingles is already dead. His goal was to kill Jingles on the campground so he would be trapped there so that he'd never be able to go home to his son. And he finds out that Jingles already did it. And as he's figuring that out, knife right through Xavier's chest, say, woo, check it out.
This is the fucker who roasted me alive.
Oh, no. Yeah. Good old Jingles pops up again, kills Xavier real quick, and then starts to have one of these conversations where, like, Ramirez is pissed at him. He's like, I can't believe that you killed yourself already. Like, you did this just to be able to beat me. Well, now you can't beat me, And Jingles is all like, yeah, I can't let you go kill my son, man. I gotta protect him. So I'm gonna get you, and then be able to protect the kid. He's like, you don't get it, man. Like, you're stuck here. You can't leave the camp. So I'm just gonna go leave. I'm gonna do the thing I should have done when I murdered your wife. I'm gonna go kill your son. And Jingles does not like that. And he basically turns to McDermot's character. He's like, I don't give a shit about you, man. Just book it. Like, get out of here. And then we get showdown number 3. And as Jingles and Nightstalker are going at it again, all of a sudden, Jingles looks like he's got the upper hand, about to have it at least, and this happens. Oh, shit. Man, like, head blown off, and what was great is the minute it happens, me and Ramirez simultaneously do this.
Margaret? Jinx Ramirez.
I just knew, man. I was like, at the same time, I was like, Margaret? I love that stuff. I don't know how she does it. She knows where everybody is at all times, and she basically is there to recruit the Nightstalker once again and bring Dylan McDermott's character along. She's like, I need a couple of killers. And you're just like, you just sit there and you're like, I just can't figure out how she keeps finding everybody. And then we jump back to Brooke and Donna, and Brooke is basically telling her, like, as they're showing, the girl around, that she's gonna kill her. She's like, yeah, that's where we're gonna take her back to the shed where you kidnapped me, and I'm gonna kill her. And Donna's like, you're not that person. You've only ever killed one person in self-defense. And again, Brooke reiterates, the last 5 years have changed me. This isn't going to be a big deal. And then, the camera cuts behind the trees again. So fast, man. She's so fast. Cuts to the trees again, and we see that it's from someone else's perspective. And you're going, whose perspective is that, I wonder? Why don't you see?
Who's watching through the... Oh, man. Dude, Margaret knows everything before they do anything.
Yeah, it's Margaret again, man. She is everywhere. So now, not only does she know that the Nightstalker is back around and has recruited him and his new buddy, Dylan McDermott, she also knows that the ghosts are a thing because she saw Montana, so she'd have to assume that, Jingles will be back. And now she's found Donna and Brooke. She knows everything. Makes her the perfect nemesis, the perfect villain, the perfect person to try to take down in this finale showdown. And I tell you, man, we better get it. If you don't give me what I want Margaret dead, man. I want it. Get us there. Get me there, Mr. Brian Murphy, and you will have a massively successful season. And when we come back from that break, we see that the ghosts have finally caught Mr. Jingles. They have him tied up, and they're basically like, we are gonna torture and kill you for the rest of your life. And Xavier's laying into him. I love that he talks about it. He's like, I was gonna be an actor, man, like not just like a model or on magazines or commercials, like on TV. I had 2 callbacks for the A-Team. Love it. Great 80s reference. And Xavier would have so fit on the A-Team. Like, he could have totally done it. So you feel for him, right? But they're all, like, everybody that's there. Like, and Jingles just goes into his best, like, pleading. And he's like, look, I get it, man. I didn't know what was going on. If I could go back, I would take it all back. But, like, you have to let me go. You have to let me go kill the Nightstalker. You have to let me do it. And like Chet is in the back. He's like, nah, man, that guy's a dick, and that means he's here forever. We don't want him. He's like, no, you don't understand. If I don't kill him, he's gonna go kill my kid. And he pleads and pleads and pleads, and then we jump to the shed, and you can tell that Xavier and them are not gonna give Jingles what he wants. And when we cut over to Brooke, she's taking the reporter inside the shed. She's talking her up, and she's like telling her all this stuff. She tells her that like Donna released, Jingles and was working with him, and like don't tell her that. And she's like, all right, if you really want to know what it felt like that night, close your eyes. She's like, that was the night everything changed. She starts to bring the knife to her neck, and you're like, Brooke's gonna do it, and she is cold-blooded too. The whole delivery from Emma Roberts is spot on, brilliant. You're like, yeah, no, this is definitely a changed person. She's not the same. And Donna tackles her. Was shocked. I was not ready for Donna to tackle her. And then she tells, the reporter, she's like, just run, get out of here. And she's like, Brooke, I'm not letting you do this. You've only ever killed in self-defense. You're not a killer. I don't care how much you say prison changed you in the last 5 years, whatever. I'm not letting you kill an innocent person. We're here for one thing and one thing only. Badass freaking revenge. And when we get it, let's not kill anybody along the way. Keep everybody else that doesn't need to die alive, and maybe we'll get redemption for the things that we have done wrong. And you're like, all right, good for you, Donna. And then, Brooke kind of comes around and is like, okay, I see what you're saying. Like, and maybe we can both be the final girls. And she's like, not yet, honey. Like, we got some stuff to take care of. But I love this team up, man. Like, the more they're together, and now seeing that bond be, like, super strong like this, like, oh, shoot, like, that could have been a make-or-break moment. Instead, brings them together. I can't wait for that Donna and Margaret showdown next week. If I don't get it, I'm gonna be real pissed off. The seasoning packet chips has got me messed up. I'm singing in the middle of a review. What? But yeah, no, I'm so jacked for where Brooke is headed, and I love the fact that like they're using like the final girl 80s movies references of like what these characters would be in a movie. I just love that. I want to see it all come down. And we swing. We get time for one more reaction because our reporter, she runs into some trouble.
Oh no! Oh. Dead.
Yeah, Nightstalker, McDermott, they get her. They start killing her. And you can see, man, McDermott is just loving it. Like, one, he's loving the killing, and two, he's loving working with the Nightstalker. And this is another team up that I'm totally digging. Like, these new team ups, I'm about them, man. Like, the characters that we're putting together, I'm like, these are fun, like, pairings to have going into this finale. And then Margaret lays out her whole plan. The reason she wants this festival to happen so much, same reason she opened the camp in the first place, right? Like, to make it an attraction. Well, people love where, like, legendary, iconic music people die, right? Like, go back to where Lennon died. It happens all over the place. She's like, we're going to kill everybody! And at the same exact time, so good. Same exact time, Nightstalker and McDermott both go, but not Billy. Like, we're not killing Billy. You're just like the love for Billy Idol. And that's why McDermott's the perfect guy for Ramirez, because like he's a hardcore music guy too, and Billy Idol's his dude. And I love that. And I swear, I hope we see like a Billy Idol something. We don't get some Billy Idol too, Ryan Murphy. I might be a little upset with you. So you got things setting up. I need the payoffs next week. I need all the payoffs. And this is now where we shift again back to Trevor and Montana. And Montana and Trevor have our second really deep conversation where, like, he's like, I hate the 90s and the late 80s, man. I want to be here forever. I want to be with you. You're everything. I'm going to kill myself. Like, I like the idea of living now. He's like, I'm already past my prime. My 20s have already happened. Everything's just on decline. Let's just live like this forever. And Montana kind of has another one of these like really impassioned kind of monologues where she's like, Trevor, get off me. No, I don't want it. I deserve like terrible stuff. She's like, I dated the Nightstalker. And he kind of like looks at her like, what? And it's more of a like, wait, what? Huh? Like shock. And she just takes it the wrong way. He's like, yeah, another person who just, you look at me different, right? I'm messed up, man. And she's like, it's BS. Like, all these guys can be killers and like rock stars, but men and girls kind of involved. Like, I'm the reason. And she's like, I'm not the reason that he became. He was already messed up. And she goes on this whole thing, and you're just like, one, Billy Lord, you're crushing it. But two, like, Montana is screwed up in the head, which is interesting because the tease we got for next week, she doesn't look too screwed up in the head. We see her and Trevor are clearly coupling hardcore and having a lot of fun with some random guy. It makes you think that people are finally going to start showing up for this festival next week. God, they better. It is good to see that in the preview. But also, like, I don't know where that 180-degree swing is going to come because Montana's in a messed up place. Even all the way up to the end, you can tell she's in one of these messed up places because of something that we see at the end. And when she breaks up with Trevor, sort of, right? Like, not like they were dating, but like she's like done. You're like, does she just want to be alone? Is she trying to save him? I'm not sure what's totally going on there. And then, of course, we come back and we got a quick little gap to fill, right? That last seg is always real short, and it's usually one of the most pivotal things. And we're at the dock where all that bad stuff happened to Mr. Jingles, where he gutted himself, and Xavier and the two of the other kids that were dressed up like him start, like, kind of like telling him what's up. Like, we're just going to torture you for the rest of your life, man. You're never getting out of this place. And they start stabbing him. The guy goes for the kill shot, and Xavier's like, no. Let him bleed out slow. And they kick him into a boat and push the boat into the middle of the lake. And you're just like, oh, man, dude, like, they're just gonna let him bleed out. So, like, this is gonna suck for Mr. Jingles. Like, he couldn't get anybody to come around on his side. And we kind of go out to the lake and you see him sit up and he starts like mumbling, and you're like, is he saying like, I'm sorry, mommy, or Bobby? And you're like, oh, Bobby. And right as I'm having that realization, this happens.
What was that?
What did the mayonnaise say to the refrigerator?
It's the moment, dude. This is the moment I was talking about in my non-spoiler review. They so perfectly recreate the end of Friday the 13th when Jason Voorhees comes up out of the lake, all messed up looking, and grabs like that last person and pulls him back in. You're like, oh snap, Jason is alive, and he'd been living under the water. And we get a kid that looks kind of like that, like dead, drowned, bloated, white, discolored, and you're like, one, the spot on recreation was amazing. And it caught me off guard because I wasn't ready for it. Because, like I said, Montana's like real messed up. She's just standing at the lake looking at Jingles, and Jingles is looking at her, and you're like, what is about to happen? And then that happens, and you're just, after you recover from being startled and like, oh wow, what an amazing shot. You kind of like, you can just see Montana's messed up. But anyways, when Jingles comes to, he's on land, but not where he died. So he doesn't, whatever pulled him into the water didn't drown him. And then you hear a voice, and you're like, oh my gosh, Bobby. It's gotta be Bobby. And there's Bobby. And who else is there? His mom. And they're having a picnic. And you're like, well, this is interesting. And that was the thing, it was weird. It was like, if it was Bobby that pulled him under, which would be the most likely scenario, why does he look normal afterwards? I don't know. That one was strange for me. But the thing that really drives home the end of the episode is this conversation that Mr. Jingles has with his mom. You know, he's just like, I'm gonna lose, like, my Bobby. Like I messed up, man. Like, it's over. And she's like, you know, she starts talking to him. She's super, super sweet. And she's like, but we found ours. Look, we're all together again. Like, we can be happy. And like right at that moment, I was like, oh, something bad's gonna happen. Because, like, I don't trust her. Like, she loathed Mr. Jingles, especially after the death of Bobby. But the camera just kind of pulls back nice and slow, and you get this kind of beautiful, like, he goes over and starts feeding ducks with his little brother, and you're like, oh man, there could be a happy resolution for Mr. Jingles. And then you're also wondering if he's like completely given up and he's just going to accept being able to live with his mom and his brother and have the Bobby that he lost and not his son. You'd think he'd still be motivated to go kill the Nightstalker, and maybe even more motivated now, right? Go get the Nightstalker and then know that my son is safe and I can live with my little brother and my mom for forever right here. So it was an interesting end, and like I said, we really filled in a lot of stuff about Jingles and the fact, like, you feel for Jingles, man, because once you find out Margaret did all the killings, you're like, this is an innocent guy. He was a nice guy, maybe a little weird, you know, because you know the thing, you know, watching your brother die, maybe being semi-responsible, I get that, man. Like, he's a little off. But, like, he was a genuinely good-hearted dude. So to see him kind of have a happy moment at the end of the episode, I was like, that's nice. But don't lose focus, Jingles. I need you to take on Mr. Ramirez one more time. And there are two big showdowns I need. I need Brooke and Margaret. I need Jingles. And I need Nightstalker. Give me them two things. Give me a little Billy Idol. I think we could be in for a slasher fun fest. And what's cool is, like I said, the previews for next week just kind of, you know, showed Brooke and Trevor messing with some kid at the camp. And then we saw Brooke and Margaret talking and I think physically getting into it. So I know that's coming, but I didn't see anything with the festival or other people. So there you go, man. Those are all the C-Man spoiler thoughts on American Horror Story 1984, Episode 8. Rest in pieces. Another setup episode, but I thought well-developed story telling again, setting us up, you know, getting all of our pieces in place, and still threw in a couple twists and turns for us. I mean, I've had a reaction every episode, and they haven't been bad. So, like I said, if we nail this last episode, I'm really, really digging what we're getting from 84. So, there you go, man. You know everything I'm thinking. And I was like, I might talk too fast, try to get this over with quick. I got into an American Horror Story groove tonight, and man, I'm feeling great. Like, I feel a lot better. Talking horror story is revitalizing the C-Man. But now, I want you to talk American Horror Story, man. You want to get me feeling all the way better, completely rejuvenate the old C-Man? Best way to do that, go hit those comments down below. Let me know what you were thinking about the episode. What was working, what wasn't. Were you aggravated that it was another setup episode? Did you get over it because we realized that this is now the penultimate episode and what it's setting up potentially for next week could be big? Are you excited about any of that? Do you like where we're going? What do you think's going to happen in the finale, man? And are you going to come and live stream with the C-Man? That's right. Last year, we live streamed the finale together. It was a good time. I had a bunch of the people that I've gotten to know over the course of the season pop in and talk during the commercials and stuff. I get it. It'll be a little boring at times because you'll be watching me watching the episode. But during commercials, we'll be able to chit-chat, talk, kind of break down what we're seeing, and then, of course, you'll get my review at the end of that, all of that. So I'm psyched, man. Big American Horror Story finale next week. This has been one of the best seasons for me in quite some time, and feels the closest to what the beginning of Horror Story was kind of like, and I hope we nail it next week. I hope you come join me for the live stream. I'll tweet out times and things like that so you get all the information. But let me know everything you're thinking down below, and if you're going to come join us next week to wrap this baby up. I've had such a blast this American Horror Story season. Really, really enjoyed all of it with you guys. I love all the support, so thank you guys for that. Look forward to next week. But we got a couple other things to wrap up. Like, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. I love seeing those thumbs just as much as I love getting the comments. And as always, if you are new here, you've been hanging out for the American Horror Story run, you've popped in and out, but you're liking what you're digging and you haven't yet, you gotta come join the Cinema Sit-Down Squad, kids, man. We have fun here. You can see with the American Horror Story stuff. You can jump over there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell that follows. You'll join the Cinema Sit-Down Squad, and that bell will give you alerts every time I make a new video. And you'll get the alerts when the live stream goes up for the finale next week. So do that for me, and also know that it'll help me in my No Shave November quest. And until the next time, man, we'll probably be talking movies. I saw Parasite this week, really, really good. I got to get Terminator Dark Fate up, so you'll definitely be talking to me and seeing me before Wednesday. But if you're not about that stuff, I will be here next Wednesday waiting for you guys to wrap up another season of Horror Stories. So until then, man, for the C-Man Cinema Sit Down, I'm the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit-Down Squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.